Bergen-Fischer Media.
Is it possible to change things? Can I rise above the flood? Will the process cleanse my soul? Or is it
Hey guys, it is.
always
Oh, geez, I was just about to read the date, which is on my computer today, not paying attention to the fact that we don't release until several days later. So I'm just going to make things real awkward because I'm tired and I'm not doing math very well.
20th?
Today, as we record, it is February 18th, but as you are listening to this, hopefully, it is Friday, February 21st, 2025. I got the year right. This is the In the Blood podcast. My name is AC Bergen-Fischer, and with me is Jason the Dice Man Moore.
Hey, everybody.
And God, that was a real stumbly intro, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. I have to adjust my camera because I'm too much of a bonehead to do it before we record. Oh, that's not right.
Nothing but professionalism here, as usual.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Okay, well, we botched the intro. I mean, hopefully your last week went a little bit better than the first couple seconds of this episode.
Yeah, it went a lot better.
Yeah, how are things going this week?
Really well, really well. Life's treating us well, and the snow's melting, has been for the last 4 days.
I hate you so much right now.
That's so fantastic. Well, but you'll be relieved because it's been raining for 2 out of the 4 days, so
Okay,
knock the
that's
snow away.
yeah. Yeah, because we had like cold weather warning, which for Calgary, like it's got to be pretty chilly for them to issue a warning. So we had like minus 40 wind chill last evening when I was out for my daily walk, which was thoroughly unpleasant. It's supposed to keep on being icy and snowy and just, I don't know, the kind of weather where I want to watch it through the window because it's picturesque.
Yeah, fair enough. All the dirty snow up against the side of the road from all the tires this year.
But it's just, yeah, I'm getting a bit of cabin fever. So, like, while the week has been mostly uneventful, I'm just sick to freaking death of being in this house.
Yeah.
So, that's my week.
Fair enough. So I got something I want to talk about, actually.
Okay. I hope you do, because otherwise, what the hell are we doing here?
Staring at your gorgeous bald head. Yeah. I'm joking.
That it's not gorgeous or it's not bold?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I want to deep dive into what keeps a friendship strong over time. Now, I know we've touched on things like, communication, making sure you're open and such, but inside of all of that, what do you think are the glues that bind a long-term relationship like our own?
That's actually really interesting. Where's all this coming from?
Oh, I guess I should. A listener question came in. A gentleman by the name of Michael from Seattle
Okay.
sent me a question, and he wanted to know. Hold on, I will read it to you. Bear with me a second here. There we go. Okay, so Michael from Seattle, Jason, I admire your close bond with AC. What do you believe is the most important quality that keeps your friendship strong over time? And that really got me to thinking. We've touched different areas, but we've never balled it into one and saw what the inside of all those little pieces. What's the glue?
I don't think he realized like what kind of Pandora's box he was opening up with that question. 'Cause it's interesting and it's compelling because I mean, to be honest, I have spent a lot of time like thinking in general terms about basically like what would answer this question.
Mhm.
But I've spent more time, I think, enjoying the fruits of the friendship than I've spent unpacking why it can be so sweet at times.
Right. And most times, actually.
Okay, so
I'll let you start this one because usually You do. So we'll just stick with tradition. And
You cut me off because I was just about to say, well, the question was addressed towards you, and in respect to the entire city of Seattle, and it was Michael, right?
yes,
And in respect to Michael, maybe we should have you answer the question first.
well, I'm glad I beat you to it. Just
Oh,
because I'm an asshole that way. Yeah.
you jerk. Okay, so if we're thinking about like I'm assuming you want to move away from like the big picture stuff, like like oh we work on our communication and just
Yeah, I
talk
think we
about
beat that
like
to death.
what kind of actual things keep us together in the day today.
Mhm.
Okay, now it's going to sound like I'm swooning over you, which I was hoping you'd start first so it wouldn't come off as being so cringy.
Mhm. But you live there anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I got to think about what kind of person I am, what kind of insecurities, what kind of traumas I have, right? Like what bothers me in I can't say like every day, but what bothers me on a somewhat regular-ish basis is a feeling of being unwanted, unnoticed, unnecessary, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So when you send me a text message just out of the blue, not because you want to talk or because there's anything to report, just because you want to say, "Hey brother, hope you're having an awesome day," or something along those lines, even if I don't respond, it's just like you you have no way of knowing. I mean, how often that message hits me at a time when I'm already like just feeling low and crappy, and it's like, why doesn't anybody care? And it's like the little sliver of light that comes into my life saying, no, somebody does care.
Right.
And it gets me thinking, okay, well, not necessarily like how do I just like have a automatic reaction and like um reach back to you, like when somebody says I love you and you're like, oh, I love you too.
Yeah.
I mean, I will normally respond, generically to what you said, like, oh, I'm doing okay or whatever. How's your week going? But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, what does Jason need, and what can I give him in the days or weeks to come, so that he also feels like he's held in my heart.
Hmm. So it's even deeper than validation though. That's
I think so, yeah.
it's putting yourself in a position where you genuinely care. And I think a lot of people, though I think a lot of people care about their friends and such, I think it's a concentrated effort to genuinely care. Like, yeah, there's friends out there that, of course I don't want them hit by a car. I don't want them to fall down and hurt themselves, though I find somebody else falling down really funny. There's a concentrated effort I think that goes into what's going on. And when I send you a text message, I'm genuinely thinking, oh, I hope he's doing okay. I genuinely am interested in hearing a response about how his day is going. I want him to be able to know that he can express to me. I want to make sure that he feels validated. These are things that go on in my head when I don't, I never, as you know, I overthink everything, but I never spontaneously just send a text. I will see something that will remind me of you. Then I will think, oh, yeah, it's been a couple of days. Then I will think, okay, so what do I want to bring out? What do I feel he needs, even though it's been a couple, it's been a while since I've heard how he's doing, or how his tooth is doing, or how his headspace is doing. So my questions will run through my head and will not be generic. They will be authentic. I'm interested in how your headspace is today. So I will send you a text message that says, how is your headspace? Because I'm genuinely thinking about you, not just, oh, I don't want him to forget about me. Honestly, I could care less whether or not you forget about me, because my importance are the people outside of me. I know I'm okay. I'm okay with who I am. I'm okay with my headspace. So what other people think of me, I don't really give a shit. So I turn my focus to what does my brother need from me? Sometimes 4 hours of being at work, my partner's at home, and I'll send her a quick text message because I know when I left, she was in pain because her sciatica is bothering her. So I will send her a message, letting her know I'm thinking about her and that, if she needs me, I'm in a type of job that I can just say, hey, I need an hour, and off I go.
Kind of interesting to hear what's going on your end of the equation because I had always just assumed that this was just like a spontaneous drive-by shooting.
Oh, never.
Huh.
The thought that comes to me is spontaneous, of course, but I never just send a text message meaning I'm just touching you. Or that sounds kind of perverse, but I always have to have meaning because what I want the people that I'm speaking to infer is that they're cared about, they're loved, they're wanted, they're needed. So when I send a text message, I don't just pick up my phone, blah, blah, blah. There's a thought process that goes behind it because I think one of the most important things that we can do for our friends is remember what their headspace was, or remember what was ailing them, or what was good, and inference back on it because that shows that you're paying attention. That shows that you genuinely care.
Yeah, not just that you're holding some sort of emotional concern or backburnered some mental space, but that you're actually like actively caring.
Yeah.
Well, there's some food for thought for anybody who's listening, I think, because I mean, while the steps they take might be a little different than ours, I think figuring out like how to actively care for their friends. I mean, yeah, I hate to broaden things out too much, talking about like general communication, general relationship stuff, but I think this is one of the things where I think a lot of people struggle is they put their relationship on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's time to like figure out, okay, well, how do I strengthen a bond? They're ignoring the fact that they've never taken the time to establish one.
Mm-hmm.
What they found is that something that is familiar is slipping through their grasp and they're not ready to lose it, even though they've done nothing to hang on to it.
Right. Well, and I think that's commonplace today. You know, People send out text messages, "Hey, how are you doing?" on a spur of the moment. Because they want to go for coffee because they don't want to go out for coffee by themselves because they want validation. And I think one of the bands of glue, I guess, that holds people together is not worrying about you being validated. It's about validating the person you care about.
I'm glad you brought up that angle because I was talking to my partner yesterday and I realized that one of the things that's always bothered me about one of my family relationships, I won't say who because the whole topic of estrangement is just, I just can't.
Yep. There's a whole
This
different side
family
to that conversation
member,
last time.
yeah, I mean, this family member over the years quite often has, after long periods of no communication, reached out and will express to me how they're feeling. I love you. I miss you. I this, I that. And I'm thinking, well, from where I'm sitting, why should I care about your emotional state when you've done nothing to invest in me? I don't care how you are feeling because we're not in that place. What I'm waiting to hear is what do I bring to your table that is important? What do you remember about me? If you say you miss me, what specifically do you miss about me?
Mm-hmm.
And when I frame our relationship inside of that experience, I realize that, and I can't speak for what I brought to the table because I don't pay attention to that. But when I think about what you brought to the table, it's a very, very rare thing for you to just out and say, well, I miss you. It'll be a case of like, I miss you because we haven't seen each other for a while. And you'll recall some good time that we've had in the past that can only happen when we're in the same room together.
Right.
It's not just like this empty Jason is feeling some kind of thing. It's a case of Jason wants to share this experience with AC.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well,
you'll tell me like things that you appreciate about me, what I bring to your life. I mean, you've never it's like, oh, I feel something and then leave it, you know, with a dot, dot, dot. I appreciate you because XYZ. I love you because XYZ. I'm glad you're in my life, you know, for reasons.
yeah. And see, I look at it totally opposite you. I always look at what I'm bringing to the table. You just made the statement that um, you're not worried about what you brought because, or hold on. Oh, I think I'm saying that backwards. um, you don't worry about how you feel when you send it out. You always worry about how the other person feels, right? And I do it the opposite way. I always worry about how I feel because when I send something, I want it to be valid in the moment. And I'm not saying yours isn't, it's just the way our heads work.
No, no, I think you're misunderstanding because if I'm sending something, I'm thinking of you. But if somebody's sending to me, I expect that they be thinking about me.
Right.
Probably because of the way we approach things.
So I'm going to kick myself in the ass later on because I'm going to rewatch this and realize I was on the verge of making my point, but I lost it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it wasn't you. It was totally me. Totally me. Um, when, yeah. Okay. So now we have to jump to something else because I can't even finish that statement.
Well, if anybody's listening and they think they've got a decent idea where Jason was going, maybe send us a message and tell him what he was thinking because we can't figure it out.
All right, maybe I'll pop back in while we're conversing. But
We've always got the option to jump back, brother. Don't worry about it.
um, when you are missing somebody, what is it that goes through your mind?
It's not the simplest thing because, like you, I hate to say I overthink things. People have told me I overthink. I think exactly the right amount for me.
Mhm.
But I'll start off thinking about how I'm feeling, you know, which is a generic I miss so and so. But I don't want to reach out to so and so and just say I miss you because to me that just seems empty and like kind of shitty because I
Mhm.
know how I would receive that.
Right.
So then I'll start thinking about okay, like what is it exactly about this person that I miss? And this is where I come to a funny fork in the road because there are times where I realize like using my younger sister as an example. My heart misses her desperately. It's been years and years and years since I've seen her. Now, if I'm going to think, what do I miss about her? There's not much. She's kind of a bitch, honestly.
Mhm.
She's my sister and I love her, but
The connection rather than the relationship.
yeah, but then there's like other people, and it's like I think, okay, well, what specific? Like, if I'm going to think about you as an example, what exactly do I miss about you? Well, today, if I had the option of like sitting in the same room with you, what I miss is like the option of just like saying, hey, let's go meet down at the coffee shop where I can sit there and like honestly, like it's not like it's all pure joy. I hate the coffee shop that you love, and you're a stubborn fucking ass. You'll never go to the one I like. Well, actually, I can't say never. It's a rare thing. But as much as I'll come in with that irritation of like, I hate this crappy watery coffee, that quickly goes to the side when we sit down at the table together and start just observing things that we find funny about other people. Or if we start complaining about something, or if the two of us as old cranky guys start solving all of the world's problems over a cup of shitty coffee. I love that kind of interaction. And
Right.
it doesn't happen on video call and it doesn't happen on the phone.
Right.
There's just something you can't replace about the face-to-face experience.
Mhm.
And whatever that face-to-face experience brings in the day, I miss that. I miss the surprise of it. I miss starting and ending the visit with a hug.
Mhm.
And if I'm thinking about somebody else I'm missing, I mean, these are the kind of scenarios that play through my head. Okay, like what do I do when I'm with this person? What is the experience all about? Sometimes I miss something that's not that it's like a feel good interaction. I miss the challenge of certain people
Okay.
because they're irritating assholes who happen to provoke really good thoughts in my head. They bring out the best parts of me by irritating me.
Mhm. Yeah, fair enough.
Sorry if that was a bit of a run on answer.
No, it's perfectly fine. I'm very much in the same boat. I do miss going, and though with you also, just in general, like one of the reasons I love that shitty coffee shop is because there's no time limit on the amount of time you can sit down there. There's another coffee shop in town that I don't like going to that I know you enjoy the coffee from, but it's so ridiculously um, well, actually there's two. One, we don't have one of in this town that you like. And the other one, it's just so ridiculously commercialized that well, they have a 30-minute sitting limit.
Oh, you don't like the rush of it all.
Right. And the people that work there are not necessarily pleasant. Though the coffee's better, the people aren't necessarily pleasant. And I would rather have a place where I could sit for a good amount of time with decent people that are working there than have to rush a conversation with you because there's a time limit on how long we can be there.
Fair enough.
So it's again, it's thinking of that experience over time. Because I think something that a lot of people miss is, well, hey man, we haven't seen each other for 6 months. What do you really still know about me? Well, if you and I didn't talk for 6 months,
Which has happened.
yep, and we just have like, let's say, once every 3 weeks, a quick text, which we have done.
Mm-hmm.
When we get together in 6 months, I can say to you, "Hey, how you doing?" And you can't say, "Well, you don't know me. We haven't talked in 6 months. You don't know what's going on." Because I do. I watch social media. I see the kind of things that are going on that you're posting or that someone else has posted about you because I'm genuinely interested in who you are. So that has to stay relevant in my focus. So these people that have superficial relationships and say, well, how can we be that close? We haven't seen each other for 6 months. What does that really have to do with anything if you have a genuine friendship? There, like you said, there's times when we've gone 6 months and not because we're fighting and arguing. It's just life happens.
Especially when our kids were younger.
Right. And we pick up in 6, 7, 8 months, just like we did today, because then we talked last week. Because the friendship is genuine and it's not an all about me relationship. It's a all about you relationship. As long as I make sure I'm doing well, my job as your friend is to make sure that I'm delved into your life to be what you need of me as a friend. And anybody in my circle, that's what they get.
Okay, so like if we were gonna sum up this point, just because I'm trying, I just realized that we're covering some interesting stuff, but I don't know if we're necessarily tying things up in a way that Michael would fully understand. Would it be safe to say that one of the things that holds us together is that we're invested in knowing and appreciating each other?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And genuinely, not for self interest, for external interest.
Yeah, because I mean, I can't honestly say like outside of like when we've got a conflict where like I don't sometimes like we found ourselves in conflict. Well, maybe not conflict, maybe like heated misunderstanding. Would that be a fair way to phrase something?
Conflict's not necessarily a bad thing.
where like I don't honestly know exactly why you're upset and you're not necessarily ready to talk sometimes. It's not a common thing, but it happens for both of us.
Mhm.
It's only in those times where I start going back to like a more formulaic approach, like, okay, well, what would a relationship coach say about this? What would a book say to do? Then I start like walking the steps. But in general terms, I prefer to defer to like just what the whole experience is. Like, what am I putting into you and what am I taking away from you? Like, and this is a question, like, I don't know about you, but I've had to answer a lot over the years, like especially with my ex-wife who couldn't stand you for some reason,
Mhm.
couldn't stand our relationship. It was a constant case of having to defend the relationship to her when she would say, "Well, why are you even friends with that guy? Like, what? I don't understand. Like, I don't get it. What do you see in him? Like, he seems to irritate you. He seems to this. He seems to that." And it's like, well, all of those things might be true. I mean, you're bringing more to the table than the irritation.
Mhm.
I don't think any two people who are super close are going to go any significant amount of no significant amount of time without some sort of stress coming up, without some sort of like, not necessarily conflict, but something bothersome is likely to come up.
Mhm.
That's not a flaw. That's just a function of any two people who care.
Right, and that's part of how we grow together because we overcome those hurdles.
But when I
And
think back, like over the last like 23-ish years, I think like the easiest way I could answer, like, okay, well, again, this is going to be in broad terms. I'll let you fine tune it to where you want to go. These things that irritate us about each other, they start conversations.
Mhm.
And if I say to you, when you do or say such and such, it pisses me off. There's been times where you come back and said, and
Yep,
and then I'll just start frantically like fumbling out words, trying to make myself look like I'm not a jerk, and then realize, oh, I was a jerk. Well, boom, we just leveled up our relationship.
yep. Hmm. There's in that conversation, the piece I want to pull out of there is a lot of people like your ex. Why are you friends with that guy? He seems to frustrate you so much. Blah blah blah. That happens in any good relationship. The relationship your ex had with you had the exact same characteristics, but you're supposed to relook at one relationship but not another because that one's supposed to be fine. Whereas I think something that holds us together very strongly is we're not only looking at our side of the relationship, we're not looking at your side of the relationship. We're also carrying that into all of our relationships and holding ourselves accountable for the relationship that we're in, not what's going on with others. I've asked you in the past, how can you be friends with that guy? Like oh bother.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a genuine question because I'm curious. I'm not questioning your relationship. It's not a you shouldn't be friends with him kind of question. It's a why
No,
are
it's
you
not a judgment. It is a curious inquiry.
right? Because you are so different and he does so many things that I know tick negative boxes for you. So I'm genuinely clear. You will give me an honest answer, to give me a precise answer. Oh, you'll answer my curiosity. And that's it. Period. You're still friends with them afterwards. That's up to you. I'm not one that's gonna, like we talked about in our last relationship. I'm not gonna take sides. I'm not gonna say, well, that relationship's gonna hurt you. You know, if a situation is dangerous, I will mention that to you. Because I'm your friend and I care about you, but what you do with that information is totally up to you.
No, and there are also times where it's like maybe it's a case, well, the three of us aren't going to hang out,
Right.
but I don't expect you to stop hanging out with that person.
No, absolutely. Right. Because I'm not so I'm not so fragile in our relationship that I think you having friends with somebody else is going to hurt ours.
Right. If anything, if somebody else I'm friends with is a total douche, it just makes you look better.
Oh, fair enough. But I think that's another glue that binds is because we don't judge each other's external relationships. You know, your ex and you, I personally didn't have a problem with her. I saw lots of issues in the relationship, that kind of stuff, as you have seen in my past relationships. It's what people do when they're observing another person.
No, and we've pointed it out to each other as well.
Right. But we didn't harp on it. Hey, look at this. This is happening. It's yours to take.
I can't believe you're with her.
Yeah. No, that's not going to happen.
No, I think just like that, like thinking about that too. I mean, that brings up kind of like a respect component. And again, I kind of like that we're doing this deep dive. We don't have to just like speak in generic terms, but I mean, that respect of like, if I don't like your partner or if you don't like mine, it's not a case of like, you shouldn't be with them or like she's a bitch or she's blah blah blah. It'd be a case of like, I seriously don't get the attraction, but that's your choice and I respect it. I mean, that's about as shitty as we'll get with each other.
Mhm.
Or there have been times where one or the other of us will go and say, look, okay, so you've been complaining an awful lot about so and so the last of the while. Now you're shifting gears and you're saying good things and you expect me to celebrate with you, but because I care about you, I can't help but worry, when's the other shoe going to drop? Because
Mhm.
based on what I've been hearing the last little while, it sounds like she's kind of nasty.
Right.
And this has been like both ways over the years, not recently, obviously, but I mean, it's happened. And it's been a case of like, okay, like there was one time where you told me with a past partner, I didn't realize that I was speaking so much negativity. It wasn't that like there's been nothing but bad stuff going on at home. It's just that you're my place where I vent.
Mhm.
Like my life is 90% awesome. The 10% that's not awesome, I would rather vent it to you than take it out on her. And then you say, like, just so you know, while all these other things were going on, these are the good things she was doing too. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to need a minute to process my emotional hangover. But now that I understand what real life is looking like for you, I can figure out how to put my grudgy, shitty attitude back in the drawer and just show up and be supportive, not just of you, but of your other relationships as well, because that's what you need. You don't need me sitting in judgment of how you live your life or who you live it with. What you need is for me to be your brother, like to have your back, but also,
Have my front.
have your side too. I mean, stand beside you, even if I don't totally get the attraction.
Yep.
I don't need to get the attraction unless we're both banging her.
Fair enough. Now, that brings up a very interesting point because there has been a time in the past where you have come at me about a relationship. Now, this isn't a bad thing. In the moment, I thought it was. But when I changed who I was for that person, that was presenting a whole different front. And you were, I don't know if it's shitty enough or if you were actually concerned enough back in that day, okay, because that was over 10 years ago. So either way is relevant. I don't know which one it was totally.
Maybe
But
both.
yeah, maybe. But it was a genuine concern because I wasn't being true to me. And you put it to me to hold myself accountable. You didn't hold me accountable. You gave me your honest fucking opinion.
No, and I always will.
But you didn't put it on me. You put it there so I could hold myself accountable and take stock, which is another very valuable point that a lot of people don't understand. I think a lot of relationships these days are missing that. They're too afraid to offend somebody. They're too afraid to hurt somebody. But he's my friend and I want the best for him and blah, blah, blah. And you hide it behind platitudes. No. If there's something going on, like I was doing, and somebody's changing who they are because they want to hold on to something that's not really good for them. It's our job as friends to point it out, I think, and be honest about it.
No, no, I think we've gotten to the point too where I think experience has taught us our relationship one way or another will weather the storm.
Mhm.
We've built up to the point where we can be hard with each other when necessary. Not like I hate the word tough love. It's
Yeah.
just love.
Mhm. Yep.
Because I mean, you've done it for me too. It's like, why are you doing this to yourself? You didn't step in and say, I'm going to stop you.
Right.
You asked me questions, like open-ended questions, and it's like, I don't need you to tell me. I need you to think about these things.
Yep.
And I did. I hated you for putting that train of thought into my head. I hated you in the moment for being brutally honest, but that hate dissipated really, really, really quickly when I realized that I was just deflecting. What I was really like hating was the fact that I had allowed things to go so far with other people.
Right. Taking you took yourself out of context.
Yeah, like I was kind of shooting the messenger, right? Like you hadn't done anything wrong, you'd done everything right. I just didn't like it.
Right. Um. Now, reverting back for a quick second, I'm totally derailing back to 10 minutes ago.
No, that's fine.
Um. You made a comment about somebody starting off a text with "I love you," and how that kind of seems insincere, which I 100% agree. We're involved with a human being right now in our lives, and they're emotionally fragile. And we were sitting having coffee, and they said, "Can you tell me something?" Um, okay, what is that something? And we're in the infancy of a relation of a friendship, right? I'm lonely. I'm alone. This is happening. That's happening. Can you tell me you love me or something? And at first, I thought that's an odd question. Um, but then I thought, you know what? No, no, that's unreal. That's a good question. Can I do that right now? And I pondered it for a couple minutes. I said, just give me a second. Let me, process this. And what I came out with was, well, where we are right now, I can tell you I care about you, but I'm not going to give you BS entanglements. What I'm really feeling is, yeah, I care for you. We may be on our way there, but I don't know right now. So the most I can do right now is let you know that, yeah, I genuinely care about you, and we can build from there. And the person was overjoyed, not because I gave them some platitude to satisfy their relinquishment to me, but I was honest and I was true in the moment. And so many people are so worried about giving platitudes and making the person feel better. Maybe we should be more worried about making the person feel realistically valid, because their show of emotion or whatever they're putting forward is genuinely being thought about. Take a couple minutes and actually think about it. Don't just send some platitude so they feel better. Think about your answer and give it to them so they feel real.
Well, not just words too, because I mean, as you're telling me this, I'm thinking like I don't want to name names because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But I've got one friend who once in a while will just say like, "Can I have a hug?" And sometimes the answer is yes. Other times the answer is no. And it's not because I don't love this person sometimes, because they're like one of my closest friends. But it's like sometimes I'm just not in an emotional space where I'm feeling very huggy. Like sometimes I need to be around ish people, but I don't want them too close because it's like a sensory thing. Like if it's summertime, say like we've been like walking or something like doing something physical, it's like I'm sweaty. It's like I'm I don't care if the other person is bothered by the fact that I'm sweaty. I'm bothered. I don't want to hug you right now because I'm damp.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to tell people what you need, and it's also okay to tell people that you can't give them what you need. And I think that's something that, taking it back to you and we've become very, very well practiced at over the years. And it's one of the things I most appreciate about you. If I come to you and say, like, I'm in crisis, you can say, okay, well, what do you need?
Mm-hmm.
You're always open to the question. And usually you can give me what I need, but there have been times where you just say, I'm sorry, I'd like to be able to give you what you need, but I can't in good conscience do that right now.
Right. What I'd be giving you is fake, so I don't want to do that to you. Yeah.
And it doesn't always feel good in the instant moment, but in the overarching like theme of our relationship, it does feel good because I know that whatever you tell me is going to be the straight goods. You're never ever going to give me, like what I want just to shut me up. You'll give me a combination of like what I need and what you have. You're not going to give me something you don't have or that you
Exactly.
don't want to give.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then to finish off this thought that we started with, the "I love you" in the beginning is bullshit thing. What I always do, even after a conversation like that, is I punctuate it with my real emotional standing. I care about you. I love you. Thanks for the great conversation. Whatever was emotionally brought out in that conversation, I punctuate the conversation with it at the end, rather than starting off with a platitude like "I love you," but here's where I am. No, no, that "but" just cancel out the fact that I love you. So if you punctuate at the end with how you are legitimately feeling or what you emotionally brought out of that conversation, it validates the conversation for both of you. And that's why, like, at the end of a conversation, you'll notice I always say "I love you," or "thanks for the great conversation," or "yeah, I'm out of gas." Because we're being honest, because we're punctuating with authenticity at the end of the conversation, so the other person also sees what you got out of it.
Okay, so the honesty, the authenticity, the curiosity, um, where these things all converge is like, and again, like drawing on the I love you theme. You and I, over the years, we've learned where, like, if somebody says to us, I love you, we don't feel compelled to just immediately, like, oh, I love you too.
Yeah, actually, to the point where I discourage it.
Yeah, like I've acted like with my partner. Again, we had a conversation the last couple of days. She said I love you, I think maybe 3 times in a row. I said, if you're waiting for me to give you a generic I love you too response, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because I don't love her. It just, I want to express when it means something to me in the moment. I never want to just be like, love you too. But I mean, there's been times where, like, I think I'm a little, which is weird because I tend to ramble on and on and on when I'm talking, when I'm answering questions.
Mm-hmm.
But I can be a very abrupt person too, as you know.
Oh yeah, that's why
So
I
when
asked.
you say like I love you, there have been times where I'll just be like, why?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'll usually be a bit nicer about it, which is really saying something when you're the nice one in the equation.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, I love you, brother, and like, where's this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
But we can have the conversation because the answer to this question actually matters.
Yeah.
And you miss out on that answer when you're just like, I love you too.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're left wondering, well, what the fuck? Like, what, like, I don't know. It's not that I'm weirded out when you say I love you. I want to know, like, what is going on inside your mind, inside your heart that is like overflowing where like you have to say something.
Yep.
What am I bringing to you in this moment that is so special that it's like, Jesus, I love this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I wanted somebody that repeated "I love you" back to me, I just buy a parrot and send myself the emotional baggage. But in the beginning of our relationship, I had a conversation with my partner about, "You're not going to get "I love you" back, and I don't want it." back. If I tell you I love you, it's okay for you to sit there in silence or say thank you or shoot me a smile,
Even winking a gun.
but just to sit there and envelop yourself in it. Allow yourself to have that statement as a blanket wrap around yourself. This these people that have the parroted response, I've stopped saying anything emotionally valid to them because they're giving me platitudes back. Like I love you is a platitude. I love you too is a platitude, not I love you. If you're not feeling the same thing in the moment, don't say it back. And don't feel obligated to have to say it to the other person in the moment, right there. It's okay for you to hold on to it and let it be yours. And if another person's saying, well, hello, I love you. Hello, I love you. And they're expecting an I love you back. Why are you putting that kind of expectation on somebody else?
If anything, I actually love you less in the moment when you get in my face and do that.
Yep. Yep. We've done drive-by I love yous because I have sent you a text message that just says, love you, brother. Because I want you to know that you're genuinely loved. And a lot of times you don't respond back, and I don't expect you to. There's no rule saying, well, you have to say it back if I say it to you.
Yeah, what's wrong? Why didn't you didn't text me back? I don't know. Like I hate these like social scripts that we get sucked into following.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's because my dad was a bit of an oddball. I it just like the how are you doing fine script. I mean, that's one that comes up between friends all the time, all the time.
Yep.
And as you know, as most of the listeners know, like I grew up in a very, very churchy environment. My dad, he had a lot of friends at church. When he would walk in on a Sunday morning, a lot of people come up to him and say, like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he would sometimes say fine if he actually was fine, but he like much like you, he would give a true answer rather than a quick answer. In fact, his true answer usually was the quick answer.
Yep.
But somebody say, "Well, how you doing?" You say, "Well, the shits actually." People are so programmed for somebody to say fine. Most people just missed that he just said he wasn't having a good time. Okay, well, that's good to hear. Talk to you later. And I think like when you say I love you too really quickly,
You're dismissing.
something can get lost, right? I mean, there's times where it's like if my partner comes to me and she says I love you, I genuinely want to reciprocate it. There's other times where she'll say I love you and my response will be like, "Uh-huh." Then she'll ask what's going on. I'm feeling some kind of way and I'm sorry. I know you need to hear that I love you, but right now I don't have any love to give. I was thinking about something and right now I'm just feeling emotionally empty and I don't know what to give you. I can't give what I don't have.
Right.
Then instead of being upset that she didn't get and I love you too, she'll make me a cup of tea. Do you need a hug? Like, what do you need? Do you want to be left alone? And the relationship strengthens. And same with you and I for like years and years and years. This has been the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally would much rather skip the whole bullshit script and just get straight to the real stuff. Like there's been times even like just it doesn't have to be like a big ticket item like I love you. It can be a case of like, are you free to chat later?
Right.
Actually, today is not a good day. I would rather get that from you than, like you saying, yeah, yeah, sure. And then I can hear you playing with your phone or tapping on your keyboard and not really listening to me when we talk.
Yeah.
Like if you show up, you show up.
Oh,
And if
drives
you
me
can't
nuts.
show up, you tell me up front, I can't. Unless you really, really need me, then I'm going to have to move some things around.
Mm-hmm. And in that is the key answer. Do you really need me right now, or are you just touching base?
It's like, well, we both raised teenage boys, like there's times where they go to the kitchen. Okay, but are you eating because you're hungry? Are you eating because you're bored?
Right.
And I think reaching out to our friends sometimes it can be like that too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I've done it. I've reached out to you because I'm bored. Absolutely, I have. So, in summation, from all the conversation we've had today, what would you say are the three key core elements, like not what we've discussed in the past and such, out of today's conversation? What would you say that the three key elements are to a good relationship
I can't sum it up for anybody else. I can look at maybe like three-ish elements that I
for
think
you?
make you and me work.
Yep. Well, the conversation's about you and me because we were
Yeah,
asking about it.
fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think because we do what we say and we say what we do, I mean, like the expectations are reasonably established,
Mhm.
which means that like there's trust. There's all these other things that can come out of that. We've covered that angle on a past episode, expectations, vulnerability, and letting go, something like that.
Right.
There's the clearly defined conversation, not just honest conversation, but like what are we talking about? What are we hoping to accomplish? What are we communicating? There isn't like the questioning there, like what's going on here? Like I don't have to worry about that with you. And there's that security of knowing that when you show up, you're not showing up out of like obligation or any of that nonsense. You show up because you're invested, because you want to show up. And it's not just because like I'm providing some sort of feel good moment for you. There's times where you show up and I know that you feel terrible as a result because I make sure you feel terrible, but you understand that it's coming from somewhere. You're willing to like invest the time to find out why is this guy being a prick today? And 100 times out of 100, you identify the reason. I calm down, and then we can get back to playing nice somehow. It's just, yeah, I don't know if it's like really like three clearly defined points because there's so much overlap. I mean, basically, it's like you're there, you care, you invest, you don't bullshit me. You're not afraid to piss me off. I don't know like how to like summarize it concisely without basically repeating the entire conversation. So maybe I should just throw it back in your court and shut up.
Okay. Um,
That was easy.
we got to make a button that says "You got this." Yeah. Um, I think, in my opinion, I guess that was kind of unfair because I don't have three either. there,
You
there,
set me
there,
up.
there's a elastic ball of things that hold it together. Not it's not glue and paper. Like there. What's the glue that makes it work? What my answer is it's not glue. It's 8 million elastics made into a ball, and that's what holds it together. There's an elastic for being real. There's an elastic for being emotionally authentic. There's an elastic for being a piece of shit. And all of these things go in together. But I think the key, what comes out, so you got 8 million elastics put together and you have an actual properly spherical ball. And what that ball represents is realism. Being authentic, having the honesty within yourself to be honest with the other person and inform them what they're giving you. If they're giving you 30%, give them 30%. If they're a 70% friend, then tell them they're a 70% friend. Because if you don't, you're shortchanging yourself and you're shortchanging them.
Fair enough. Well, I don't think Michael realized like how much of a loaded question he was sending you.
I didn't realize. Yeah.
But I mean, even if like anybody who's listening today, if you haven't taken any specifics away that would directly to apply to your experience, I mean, hopefully the things that we've shared have caused you to question, to examine, to just get genuinely curious about the way you relate and what you bring to the table, what your friends bring to the table for you, and just apply the knowledge that's gained from chasing down the answers to these questions.
Mhm.
Hold each other dearly, or let each other go. Riding the in between, I think, is one of the ugliest
Oh,
areas
yeah.
that we can navigate in life.
Mhm. Yep.
But I suspect that if you got people close to you in your life, they're close for a reason. Make the most of that.
Or of them.
Yeah, good
Using
point.
somebody isn't necessarily a negative thing.
No, just like fully appreciate and enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, all of that being said, my friends, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and until next week, one love.